After building a SaaS influencer tool, advising accelerators, and running an investment firm, Jim Weldon could have retired, but instead, he founded Prospect Desk to solve one of digital marketing's biggest headaches.
What makes a successful founder take on the dirtiest problem in digital marketing?
I thought I was a serial entrepreneur, and what I was told is I'm a professional entrepreneur. And I didn't know what the difference was. And I learned very quickly a serial entrepreneur is somebody who starts a lot of things but doesn't actually make any real money along the way. 30 different companies had 30 different approaches to how they prospect. We figured out a pretty smart way to get more yield, lower cost per lead. And then in turn, we got better data quality. And it was really audience quality is what the data was. That was
What if the problem wasn't the funnel, but the data itself?
the real aha moment. It's, yeah, data's good, but data that improves targeting, way more impactful. They start scrolling through the Excel file or CSV, whatever the simple tool is that they're viewing the data on for the first time. And they go, holy crap, I didn't know I could get this. I'm surprised at how many people violate COPA laws. I'm surprised at how many people don't understand how many rules FINRA has. We talk about PII, personally identifying information, and you hear this thing called GDPR for general data protection in Europe. Then you hear about CCPA from California's consumer protection rules. Here's the reality. They're all freaking real.
What happens when companies don't play by the rules?
And they're real for a reason. Let's talk about what bad data is. Do you have the wrong data around what problem you're solving? Do you have bad data around how big the opportunity is? Do you have bad data on what channels to go sell it through? Do you have bad data on what digital channels you're marketing to and the return on investment you're getting?
So how do you fix the biggest blind spot in digital marketing? That's what Jim reveals inside.
After building a SaaS influencer tool, advising accelerators, and running an investment firm, Jim Weldon could have retired, but instead, he founded Prospect Desk to solve one of digital marketing's biggest headaches, bad data. On today's episode, we're going to unpack what he's fixing and why the old way of prospecting is dead. So welcome to the show, Jim.
Hey, appreciate it, Mike. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, I appreciate you being here. So you've built companies in ed tech, fintech, SaaS, hardware, consulting. What keeps you coming back to the startup grind?
You know, my wife wants to know that answer too at the end of the day. A couple things. One is I tell people I thought I was a serial entrepreneur, and what I was told is I'm a professional entrepreneur, and I didn't know what the difference was. And I learned very quickly a serial entrepreneur is somebody who starts a lot of things but doesn't actually make any real money along the way. A professional entrepreneur starts things, gets paid the whole time, whether it's fees or salary, and then hopefully eventually an exit. So what keeps me coming back is I'm a professional entrepreneur who makes money at his ideas and companies. So that's what keeps me coming back. And I like to solve problems in the marketplace. I always have.
So what made you zero in though on data quality and then come up with a resolution as the next problem to solve with Prospect Desk?
You know what's funny? We didn't start with the data quality issue. It's just one of the ongoing kind of tenets and tent poles of the whole deal. If you're not focused on it, it'll bite you in the butt down the road, right? So what we were focused on we have a whole portfolio of companies we own pieces and parts of, and they all had the same problem, which was 30 different companies had 30 different approaches to how they prospect. And there's really only a couple. Are you going to a business or are you going to a consumer? Then once you figured out that they're really just those two, I realized we were wasting a lot of time. So we really started at, is there a smarter way to fill and get more squeeze out of our organic and inorganic traffic, paid traffic at the top of the funnel? And we had no idea where we were going to go. And we all started with, hey, what if I just knew who was on my website? And then you see these site resolution tools, and then you realize they're kind of expensive when you start going there. They're not very accurate. So we thought, what if we could make those better? And didn't realize that was a race to the bottom market. So that was the first mistake we got to make in this process. Then the next one we said was, hey, what if I could use those visitors when I did find the right ones and I could market them? So like display advertising, and when a cookie is out there, it follows you around and the ad is on the next website. So we said, what if we could come up with a smarter way to leverage targeting to make those cookies more perform better with ads, then lookalike audiences, and then back end upsell. And then what happened was we went from top of funnel, more squeeze, more juice out of the same squeeze to holy smokes, we figured out a pretty smart way to get more yield, lower cost per lead. And then in turn, we got better data quality. And it was really audience quality is what the data was. That was the real aha moment. It's, yeah, data is good, but data that improves targeting, way more impactful. So that was the metamorphosis. We started one place that was a mess and we made a right turn and we actually wound up on the right lane. So that's what we do today at Prospect Desk. We, at commercial scale, helped our clients, over 10,000 of them, identify 1.5 billion net new prospects from their existing traffic. We didn't bring them. That's the people that were there that they wouldn't have known visit. So some really big tier one brands use our stuff. So long answer, but hopefully that makes sense.
Yeah, but for people that aren't familiar with the problem, what is bad data and how is it hurting companies?
So to carry the analogy down on bad data, so bad data, another term as I already shared here is bad audience. So bad data is you and I visit a website, Mike and Jim, and we have a cookie. Nobody knows it's us. And we treat us equally, right? Which is where we have to spend 100% on that audience because we don't have any way to differentiate that, hey, Mike is a CTO. Mike is a more sophisticated buyer. Mike was at a Fortune 500 company because I have more data on you. So bad data would be, I just accept we're equal, another way, versus good data is I have some profile information. Mike is my target ideal customer profile. I'm able to cut in half the number of people I need to market to because Jim is a sole proprietor painter. Why would I market to Jim just because he visited that website? It makes no sense. So what bad data does is it penalizes and wastes money on your digital marketing campaigns. That's why it's so important to have good targeting data for audiences.
So you've said that Prospect Desk is about making data work harder. What does that look like in practice for your clients?
It's funny. We thought, hey, if we just give them the information. So think about a big old 6-foot water main coming into your business. And I'm talking thousands of resolutions a day. We thought they'd know exactly what to do with it. Oh, we were mistaken. What we found out real quickly is, and you know this, I'm sure from your days as a CTO, there are differing degrees of capabilities in organizations. So the way it looks in practical terms is somebody could take those 5,000 or 6,000 new people we identified from those site visitors, put them in an email marketing platform or a marketing automation platform. So think Instantly or Constant Contact or one of those systems, HubSpot, Salesforce, because they all have marketing automation modules. It would score that person. So Mike is that CTO at a big company, check. And then it would put a custom message or sequence out. And Jim is just a small business owner. He gets a different sequence. It knows I own a small business. So in practicality is data comes in, it gets scored, little checks, and then it kicks off an email sequence. It might kick off an outbound text. It might kick off a display ad. That's the practicality of what people do with our data.
That's really cool. That's really cool stuff. So
thank you.
When a company first makes the switch to using Prospect Desk, what's like their first aha moment?
When the partnership goes well, it looks like this. We put the tag, the little snippet of code on their website, our partner's website. They get their first resolutions 30 minutes after we put it on. And then over the next 10 business days, they're accumulating more resolutions. And if they have enough traffic, it could be 1,000 or so. Then what they do is they start scrolling through the Excel file or CSV, whatever the simple tool is that they're viewing the data on for the first time. And they go, holy crap. If I don't hear holy crap, I know I'm in holy trouble. Because then they're like, wow, this is a lot of data. I didn't know I could get this. Where did you get this? Is this legal? And then they kind of panic. So that's our first am I allowed to have this? So that's the first reaction.
I laughed when you said they asked, is this legal?
Yeah.
I mean, like, as you know, I start every conversation before someone comes on the show. I tell them, they can promote something that's ethical and legal, and they always laugh when you say that. But I think it's because everyone realizes, that's a consideration that as business people, especially in the tech side of things, where we're protecting
Well,
data.
let's talk through it. I think it's a real subject. I think people
Yeah,
avoid it and don't know it. So
yeah,
maybe if you want, I can give a couple of seconds on why
yeah.
it's legal if you
Go
want.
right ahead. Talk about why that's important.
Yes. So a couple things. If people aren't concerned about that, which is I really appreciated the way you set up even our conversation earlier, is I'm surprised at how many people violate COPA laws. I'm surprised at how many people don't understand how many rules FINRA has in that space. I'm amazed how many people touch personal health information on the internet. And we talk about PII, personally identifying information, and you hear this thing called GDPR for general data protection in Europe. Then you hear about CCPA from California's consumer protection rules. Here's the reality. They're all freaking real. And they're real for a reason. People abuse people's data. Full stop. So what we've done is we worked with some of the largest law firms like Latham Watkins and others, from our privacy policies to what we can do with the data, our derivative rights, how our clients can use it, the reps and warranties they make, the deletion requirements if they stop being a customer, they don't have any secondary license rights. We are super careful because we don't de-anonymize. What we do is we're able to take, because they're part of our community, we're able to give them access to our data and make it theirs. And then we create a linkage between the cookie, the device, the IP. And we say, this is most likely the person. We don't guarantee it. And then we say, here's the only way you can use this data. You can't remarket it. You can't resell it. You can't make it part of an acquisition. You can only use it to market your current service or product that you are on your website today. Super limited rights of use. And if you do anything else with it, you violate your use of terms with us and you're gone. And we monitor all of our stuff as best we can. But what we found is most people are really good citizens when they're told the rules.
It's I as an entrepreneur, I'm sure you get these as well. I get a lot of developers reaching out to me, SEO people. They want to send me the report they allegedly ran on my website that they don't even know the website that I have, and they never have an unsubscribe link. And then they're generally the type that will follow up forever and never get the message that, hey, this person's never responded to me. Maybe I should stop following up. And so I've started taking to just replying back and saying, if I get another email from you, I'm going to report you because you're not in compliance with like Can Spam Act or whatever I decide to use. I don't know why, but it works very effectively. I've actually seen an overall reduction in how many of those get. And I can only assume that maybe there's services out there that are doing this for these people, or I'm scaring them. I don't know exactly what's happening, but it's really interesting to me that when you kind of point out to somebody, hey, you're breaking the law. They never thought about that. And then they suddenly go, oh, I better stop.
Yeah, the FTC is real. You don't want an inquiry
you
don't want the FTC to have an inquiry because they have a lot of power to fine. And the challenge is GDPR did a really smart thing at first when it fined all the big companies in Europe. It built its war chest for enforcement. I think it was $5 billion. They fined Google and Facebook, and they all paid it because they didn't want to get the bigger fines. Because, as you know, the numbers could be up to 20% of revenue or some crazy fine in Europe. So they all paid their tax, I'll call it. And then they were able to build enforcement agencies over there. We don't have that in the US. It's up to the attorney general of each state to be the enforcement arm with their cyber groups, and they stink. So what's happening is we have no national privacy policy. The FTC is a proxy. Everybody, I think there's 23 or 25 states that have some version of privacy. Another 10 or 12 are copying CCPA, I'll call it. And the reality is there's no fabric stitched together. There's no central database. There's no enforcement. There's no, like you said, if I'm an e-commerce company in Atlanta, Georgia, and I violate a rule, if I'm in California and I have them to violate it there too, I want to know about the Georgia violation. Now I see a pattern. You don't care. Right? Or unsubscribe. Hey, give me 30 days to fix it. I just missed it with my web developers because it happens. That's the way it works.
I agree with you. I also wonder sometimes, like, some of those replies will come back that that address doesn't exist. And then I wonder, well, did somebody complain and they get removed, or, did they make a typo in the
Scam.
email? Yeah, well, exactly. I
Scam.
figure it's probably just a scam. They're going to tell you, like, if some unsuspecting person responds back and says, yeah, I want to see this report, then they're going to claim that they need, a login to the website or something in order to complete it. And so many people don't pay any attention to the simple tells, like I always tell this story.
Yep, they're getting fished.
Like I always tell this story that during the pandemic, we lived in California, and Southern California Edison was our electric company. And one afternoon, I wasn't feeling good, so I took a nap, and it was like on a Saturday. And I wake up and I look at my phone, and it says it's Southern California Edison, and it's from my phone book, so it's the number that's in my phone book for Southern California Edison. So I'm like, wow, this is weird. I pick it up, and of course, this is during the pandemic where they weren't shutting anybody off. You could be tens of thousands of dollars behind on your bill. They didn't care. Now I happen to know that my bill's on auto pay, and I know when it's due. I know what day it's going through, and it's going through in like 2 more days. And I get this call, and they're like, "Oh, someone's coming there in about 30 minutes to shut off your electricity. Your bill's past due." I mean, I immediately know it's a scam because my brain starts going, well, how do they have the SCE number? Well, of course they could have spoofed it. But I said to her, no, that's not true. I mean, first of all, right on your website right here, it says you're not turning people off. Oh no, sir. You're way too far behind. And that's another thing. I'm on auto pay. So, I mean, it's not behind either. And she tried to go through this whole thing about how I need you to give me a credit card number and all this stuff. And I told her, I'm sorry, I know you're not SCE. Give me your extension. I'll call you back. And she gave me some bogus extension. And of course I didn't call back saying it was fake. But the point being, you got to pay attention for the red flags like that. You got to look for the things that are going to make you realize, oh, this isn't real, because it was when you think about it, they're spoofing the number. It's in my phone book because I call them all the time for different things. And all of a sudden, like I used to have to set up, server rooms for people. And so I had to get in touch with SCE and make sure, what kind of breakers were there, that sort of thing, and if need to be upgraded. It's just interesting to me that, when people fall for these scams because it's going
to get worse because the voice synthesization that's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody's going to take your podcast on mic, and then they're going to run an hour or two of your voice, and they're going to have all the answers because it's going to be just like a normal decision tree. Here's the 20 or 30 paths that can go down.
Yep.
And then somebody's going to have a large language model on you. And here's how Mike thinks. And if you call him, it could have I guess the Turing test just got passed, 2 weeks ago on a Monday, that 73% accuracy. And then it couldn't tell the difference between the computer and the other two people. So it's here. It's coming. It's going to get worse. And I think it's kind of sad because, it's like anything. Technology always gets perverted for something bad. And nefarious scamming is definitely going to be one of the places people do it. We don't need the Nigerian prince anymore. There's a lot better ways to steal money from grandma and grandpa and the general public.
Yes, it's really sad. So, after all these things that you've done, after this great career you've had, most people would take a break. How come you're going all in again right now?
Because I have some kind of genetic defect. I think that's the only rational answer. A couple of fortunate things. One is I get to work with my son. He has his own company and a successful entrepreneur in his own right. So in order to be relevant, so I can support, that's one of the reasons I do it. I have a good team. To be honest, they do most of the work. My job is to set the direction and the resources we have. They determine the how and when it's going to get done. So if, I don't have to work as much, what I would say on the tactical stuff. So I get to do more fun, strategic things. But I would say the main reason, how many dads get to hang out with their son and actually be helpful and relevant? Hopefully he considers both of those things with me. I'm kind of the secret weapon in the background.
Yeah, no, I hear you. As I get older, over the years, I've eased away from software coding because my eyes were bothering me, and a doctor kind of scared me and said, if you keep down this path, you're going to be blind. And nobody wants that.
That'll scare you.
So I'm like, all right, find a new way to get around this. And so then I built a tech business, And so I have other people writing code for me, and I don't deal with that anymore. But I've been moving more and more towards content creation, hence like the development of this show. And we have a YouTube channel around our Las Vegas experiences. And like you said, what's cool about it is my youngest son is planning to start a business. He's about to graduate university, and he has the whole business plan ready to go, money saved up to get the business going, and he wants to get it started. And he's like, but I don't know how to get video, like how to edit these videos that people put out on social media to get the traction that I want to get. Guess what? I raised my hand. I can help you with that. I mean, it's really, I think it's part of why I've never actually just fully retired is I just enjoy, like you said, you get to do the things that are fun, and I'm doing the fun things now, and I feel like I've put in my my penance. I've paid my penance, and now I'm moving on, to other things. So, but here's one for you. What's a feature that your customers love about Prospect Desk, but you almost didn't build it?
Good question. I would say the way we do our user interface tied into our DSP, demand side platform, and replace our media. We were not going to make that available to our clients. We just weren't, because we didn't feel comfortable with them having that kind of power in their hands, because they can run up a $50, $60, $100,000 bill pretty quickly. Did my phone lock up there? We're good.
No, you're good.
So what I learned on that was we wanted to control it, and then we realized we should try to control it. We figured out a smart way to invite our customers in to work with us on that feature. So that was one of those ones where like, no, we're going to control that. And then when they saw it, they're like, whoa, why do you have that and we don't have that? And we built it for ourselves, but we decided we were going to make it more available to our partners. So
yeah, I hear you. So with everything you've built, invested in, and led, how come fixing bad data feels like the most important problem to solve right now?
I think, I don't care what business you're in. So let's talk about what bad data is. So bad data can be, do you have the wrong data around what problem you're solving? Do you have bad data around how big the opportunity is? Do you have bad data on what channels to go sell it through because you don't really understand your sales cycle? Do you have bad data on what digital channels you're marketing to and the return on investment you're getting? So you're thinking everything's great, but you're not really tracking it. You don't know your cycle time, so you have bad data on how much cash you need to run your business, because you don't know from first touch to first cash collection, how long is that really going to take? What I've learned is bad data, there's a perception I have a contact record on Mike and I don't have the right address. Okay, that's a form of it, but there are so many things around bad data that are dynamic, that impact the business, that nobody validates. So if you look at what we do with Prospect Desk, our JavaScript code, that tag that's on the website, it's validating where the person came from, the IP address. We're validating the device they're on. We're validating the browser. We're picking up and dropping a cookie. We're figuring out the referring link. We're tracking the UTM data from their campaign. That's just data. And then the better we are at collecting it, then you can do something with it. So if we only collected the cookie, okay, is that bad data or just not enough data? So I look at the degrees of efficacy of data more so than is it binary, because there's a perception data is accurate or not. There's depths and degrees and layers of data efficacy. That's we just did this for a customer and educating them. They're like, your data's bad. And I'm like, what do you mean? Well, that person isn't at that company anymore. Okay, so it's inaccurate. But
yeah, that's a huge difference.
Right. And then so efficacy wise, it's going to be painful to reach out to them. And then it's like, okay, did you try their personal email? No. Okay, well, we know that record didn't bounce. We know it's deliverable. So that's another way to get them. And so we started looking at, hey, the cookie is still valid. You're still on this device. They're still at that IP address. We got the IP address. We can tie to a physical address that we can get their zip code, zip +4. I can get their income level. There's a lot of things you can infer if you know how to manipulate the data. But bad data, it's too much of a simpleton's view. So we had to actually evolve our definition, our interaction, and our explanation to our customers, because we used to get defensive. Well, it's the best data out there. And, we sounded like we were backpedaling. Now we're like, how are you using the data? What's the use case? How accurate does it really need to be? And then depending on the use case, it doesn't need to be that accurate. Cookie targeting doesn't need to be that accurate because it's so cheap. $2 per 1,000 impressions. That's cheap. Why do I need it to be super accurate? I can have a lot of waste and still get a great result. So anyways, that's why to me, it's understanding the definition of what accurate and efficacy mean, and then the layers that go with it.
Yeah, no, that's actually a really good point, that just because the person no longer works somewhere doesn't mean the data is bad. It just means it's inaccurate. You haven't updated it with whomever the latest person in that role is.
But everything else may be correct, and you don't throw it out baby with the bathwater type thing.
Right. I mean, it made me think about the fact that, like, if someone were to do research on me and they'd, like, let's say they pinpoint that they end in California and they don't follow me all the way here. Well, they're right. I was in California and I did live at that address that they have. I'm just no longer there. I'm here in Vegas. Right. I mean, that's just inaccuracy. It's not completely bad data. That totally makes sense.
So you may still have the same phone. You may still have the same laptop.
Yeah.
There's going to be breadcrumbs, as we say, signals that I can triangulate on you that still I know it's Mike.
Yeah, and you'll know it's the person you were targeting. Exactly. Yep. So how can my audience get in touch with you if they want to pick your brain or maybe work with you?
Yeah, so there's two main ways. There's like every website, we have a little simple form you can put in your email and a message to us there, talk to an expert. Those all wind up making their way to me one way or another. Or they can email me, jim@prospectdesk.ai. There's no such thing as phone numbers anymore. We don't call anybody anymore at businesses. No. I mean, what happened to that? Because we all have cell phones now, and that's the main way everybody gets a hold of everybody. So I'm not giving out my cell phone on this, as much as I love you, Mike. But those are the two main ways.
I've had exactly one guest give out their cell phone number. But even then, what I think is funny is I talk to my kids about this all the time. We have a phone, but we don't use it to talk to each other. We text each other.
Oh, absolutely. Because it's like 99% open rate, because we know it. But if it's like you barely have a 50% answer rate on a phone call. For sure. Well, thanks so much for being here today. I really appreciated the conversation. It was intriguing to me. Hey, Mike, thanks for having me on. Really appreciate it.
All right. Well, from fintech to edtech, hardware to high growth SaaS, Jim Weldon has built it all. But instead of kicking back, he's taking on one of digital marketing's most painful blind spots, bad data. Through Prospect Desk, he's proving that accurate targeting, clean identity resolution, and data that actually works isn't just possible, it's the future. So if your funnel's leaking, your audience is off, or your prospects just aren't converting, rewind this episode and listen again. And if you want more insights like this, subscribe, leave a comment, and definitely go and check out prospectdesk.ai to see how Jim's team is making data smarter, leaner, and more profitable. Thanks for being here for another episode of Gaining the Technology Leadership Edge, and we hope to see you back here again next week.